All right, am I right in assuming that everybody is at this file right now? You're at the tip calculator activity.java file. If you're not, please open it. And whether it's the right way to do it or not, we are first going to start by adding those extra import statements. All right, so watch me do it, follow along, however you want to do it. And again, type fast, all right? Because I don't want to sit here for a year and a half on this code right here, because we got to get going. If you are typing in every line of this, you are being foolish. You should be at least grabbing the import Android dot and copying it, because that's going to save you some time. So again, if you're typing deficient, please do that. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 widgets. Right, I'm going to leave it up there, but not for very long. And why are they all gray right now? Because we're not using them. In fact, if I go over by the light bulb there, it'll say, do I want to get rid of all ones I'm not using? Don't do that. We will end up using all, if not most, I believe every one of these. You can always check when we're done, and if there's anything that's still gray, put your mouse over it. If it says it's unused and the program's working, then you don't need it. What I'll do when we get all done is if anybody wants a hard copy of this, I'll print it out for you. All right? Try to remember to ask when we're all finished. Okay, I don't have to remove that yet, but do you all remember, please look up on the screen here, that when we were doing not Android, but just regular Java, remember when we put stuff up here, how it became global to the class? All right, we want to do the same kind of thing here. All right, but these will be the variables that we will end up using for our widgets. Everybody hear that? These will be the variables that we're going to end up using for our widgets. So I'll just put a little comment here that says define variables for the widgets. You don't like my comment? Again, not to be funny, put in whatever you want. But you got to get used to putting in some documentation. Am I right in assuming when you guys were at that contest they had nothing in there? Did they ask you to document? Okay. Okay. I mean, I know professional programmers, and some of them will tell you, if you put too many comments in, all you do is turn people off. All right. And I've also told you the story about when I was at a place, and I had an 8,000 line app, and 4,000 of them were comments. The person who took that app over from me did not complain. Never said, man, I wish, you don't like the comments? Get rid of them. He liked the comments. He said, no, I understand it because you put all those comments in there. That's why I did it. All right. Okay. So we're going to have 2, 3, 4, 6 different variables. One. 2. Oops, sorry. 12 money. Do you notice if you look up on the screen right now, it's why I haven't moved it. You notice how 3 of the things that were up there that were grayed out are not grayed out anymore? All right. Hopefully you can look at those that are right there and pretty much know what they correspond to. All right. Again, we could put comments there, but my comment, like for right here, would be edit text for the bill amount. Well, I called it bill amount edit text. All right. Now, I'm going to put something here just so you see this, and you might say, why are you doing this? We're going to go back up to this line right here, if you would, the line that's right there in blue. Go up to the end of that line and hit enter, please. So right here, go hit enter. And type in, this is stuff we're going to use later. Implements, you got to spell it right. Implements. So what does it like? Oh, okay. It'll be red because we haven't declared those methods yet. If that bothers you, then don't put it in until later. All right? It's not hurting anything the way it is. It's just the system is sending us something that says, hey, this action listener and editor action listener and this click listener, they need methods. You haven't put those in yet. We will put those in later. I'm just working my way down from top to bottom. That's all. All right. All right. The next thing that we're going to put in here, now I'm going to move all the way up to here. All right. But the next thing that we're going to put in here is something that's going to be called shared preferences. And we're going to be using that in case we have to save anything. Why would you have to save anything? Again, if you look on your screen here, typically what happens with most apps when I go from here to here and back and forth, it redraws itself. All right? Which means that it makes it go away even if it's momentarily, and then it redraws itself. If it goes away and I want to be able to use this portrait or landscape, it's got to save those settings. So that's what we're going to be doing with this stuff. So, comment here. You're going to see this a little later on in the book. All right? Now again, does everybody understand? Please looking at this line that's in blue. The word saved values that's in there. Everybody understands the word saved values right there? That's just a variable name I created. All right? I didn't have to call it that, but these are values I'm saving, so to call it saved values, at least in my humble opinion, made sense. All right? And I want to tell you something too. I'm trying to make the font on here bigger. It won't use the wheel, so I can't hold down on, I can't do this like I can do with other packages. So I went in here during the break, and I said, okay, you tell me how to do it. It said go to Settings, Editor, Colors and Fonts, Font. It says click As, choose a new scheme, then change the font size and say, okay, this will be your default size. I did all that, and it didn't work. Okay, so in other words, I went over here because I wanted to show it to you if you wanted to try it. They said File, Settings, all right, Editor, Font, and then they said to change the size. It was 12. I changed it to 16. I did that, went to 16. I told it to apply, and I clicked OK. It didn't take it. It's pretty obvious that it didn't take it. So there's probably a very easy way to do it, or I'm doing something wrong. It told you to save that. You shouldn't have to. I've done this before, and it's worked. All right? Sorry if it's a little small, is what I'm saying. All right. So we are up to this onCreate method here. And I'm hoping everybody is pretty much caught up. All right? Again, if you fall behind too much or whatever, all right, then hopefully we'll get you caught up, and I can always print out a copy of the code for you. All right? All right. So we're ready to come down. You always do this first. What's this doing? I'm asking you that question. What is that line doing? What? Yeah, calling super, that's a pretty safe answer. All right, but what's it doing? No. Yes, very good. It is calling the parents constructor. Remember that this is a child of app compact activity. So it's saying to call the one for the parent, basically. All right? That might not exactly be correct in my verbiage, but that's what it's doing. All right. So after we've done these two lines, next we want to get references to the, gotta spell it right, references to the widgets. This is going to be using that R file that we talked about before. All right? We're going to have 6 of these, and if you look, we need one for each one of those. Does that make sense? These we have to map up with what's in the XML. Okay? Now, what's in the XML? This right here. Look on your screen, please. This stuff, All those things are basically looked at as strings and characters. All right, we're not using them as strings and characters in our code. So what we're going to have to do, literally, not here, but down here, when we use these, we're going to have to cast them so they're of the right type. So don't type for a second. Watch me type this, because I'm going to put it in wrong. Did you hear me? I'm purposely going to put this in wrong. So I'm going to say, not there, down here. I'm going to say bill amount string. No, I don't want bill amount string. What the hell? Okay. There. All right. This bill amount edit text I've got to worry about. The percent text view I've got to worry about. The percent up button, the percent down button, the tip text view, and the total text view. All right? Those are the ones that I have to worry about right now. So, the order in which you do these is immaterial. But since I did them in one order up above, I'm going to do them in the same order here. So again, this bill amount edit text, I'm asking that you don't type this in because this is wrong. I'm going to say equal find view by ID r.id.bill. Now, that's almost correct. That is almost correct. All right? But the problem is these two things are incompatible. What gets returned from this is not this type. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but there is an incompatibility. When you use this find view by ID, you've got to cast it into the right type. So this, and now you can start typing, this will be edit text. Doesn't matter if you have a blank space here or you don't. The good news is you know what casting is. We've done casting before, where we've casted an integer into a double or a double into an int or a something into a something. All right, so I'm going to do 6 of these right now. The good news is you can see we've got at least some support for IntelliSense here. I'm making this stuff line up because hopefully it's easier for you to see. You do, by no means do you have to do that. That is about the first third of what we have to type in. You may or may not have noticed, if you look on the screen, while you were typing, you may have noticed this. I thought I could do it after I typed, but it's not letting me. That when you were typing this stuff in here, if you put your mouse and you stop, what may have shown up on the screen is an address. And it's showing you where that XML file is in memory. Remember, this is doing the mapping between your XML file and Java itself. All right. This word right here, just so you know this, that word that's in blue right there, references, implies that we're working with memory addresses, because that's exactly what we're doing right here. All right. Now, before I go on, if you'd look up on the screen again, please, I'm going to jump back to this. Okay? Again, you're all smart people. I think you all understand what it is I'm about to say. If I look right here, okay, if you look up on the screen, there are 3 times I want something to happen. If you look on the screen, I'm controlling the amount that goes in here, right? And I've got control over 2 other things. Do I want my tip percent to go up, or do I want my tip percent to go down? All right. I will tell you, just so you know, all right, just so you know, there is virtually no validation done in here. So when you get done, you can make the tip amount go negative, which would be nice if you had a really rotten service that they had to pay you, but that's not how it works as far as I know. Plus, you can have the tip percent go way up over 100%, which probably wouldn't happen. All right. But what I'm telling you is we have to add listeners for that right there, for that right there, and for that right there. Those are the 3 things where we're setting something. That's what makes the program go. So the next thing we want to do is we want to come in and we want to set the listeners. All right? So that's what we're going to do right now. I just put a comment there that said set the listeners. Again, if you think that's redundant, don't put it in. All right. That's not right. There's only one more line, so. And please look here, I did not type in the word name there. See that? That's a hint that was provided by Android Studio. Do not type this, or it will be wrong. All right, do not type in name : that probably will end up being put in there for you. All right, sometimes they call those things hints. You may or may not remember, we talked about this much earlier. We talked about this in JavaScript. All right, the word this. That refers to whatever it is you're currently working with. For lack of better words, it's an alias, so you don't have to say something like bill amount edit text dot set editor listener bill amount edit text. Okay? You use the word this as an alias or as a shortcut. Okay. Now we're going to write a couple very small routines. All right, 2 of them right now. What they are for, all right, one is going to be called on pause and one is going to be called on resume. The on pause means, again, I'm right here. So let's assume I've got this tip calculator on my phone, all right, and I'm trying to figure out the tip. My phone rings. I go to answer the phone. So what happens is there is a pause in the application. I answer the phone, I do my business on the phone, I hang up. It comes back. Then the resume is called. Does that make sense? All right. Now, this would make more sense, just so you know. Okay, you are not able to physically make phone calls from those tablets that we have in the other room. But you can emulate making a phone call, where you can't emulate making a phone call on the emulator. Does that make sense? All right, so you can you can't make the emulator do certain things. So this technically we couldn't really test. All right. So I'm taking for granted that people have at least got this much. Okay, so I'm going to move that up a little, and I'm going to come down here and start writing the next routine. We have to do an override here. All right, and we're going to be working with on pause. There's a grand total of 5 lines, and a comment. That's the whole first routine right there. Now again, some of this will be explained in the book. So when we get all done with this, we'll go back and we'll take a look at the explanations for the code that are in the book. All right? But in English, in very general terms, what we're doing is, see these 2 variables here? Bill amount string and tip percent? Those are the variables that we set here. See these 2? Those variables are being used so that when we go and if our phone rings, we can save that amount right there, which is our bill amount, and that amount right there, which is our current tip percent. We want to make sure that when we go back to our actual program or our app, that it has those values. Because if those are okay, everything else should automatically be filled in. So for lack of better words, your app is running. You get a phone call. You decide to answer the phone. In general terms, what happens is, look at it this way. It's like your app takes a picture of what's on the screen right now, and it wants to save the value that you entered in for your bill amount and the current value you have in there for your tip percent, so that when you end the conversation or do whatever, it can reinstate those values, and it does that where? in the on resume, which we are about to write right underneath the on pause. Okay? So we did on pause. We've got to do on resume, which has a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, but I put about 2 or 3 comments in there. All right? So hit enter here a few times. There. All right. So this is another override. Now, if you look up here, I'm going to call a routine we have not written yet. Did everybody hear me? I'm about to call a routine we have not written yet. The reason that that's important is it's going to be red squigglies underneath because we haven't written it yet. All right? So, whoops. Okay, we're going to write that next. I'll give you a chance if you've fallen a little behind to catch back up. We are almost to the bottom of the second page of the 3 pages we're going to type in. So there's about 30 more lines or so. When we get done, ideally at least, it's going to work. All right, so we'll quick test it, then we'll go back and we'll take a look at the explanations that are given in the book for the code, because some of it may not make a whole boatload of sense to you right now. All right. Again, this red just means, says cannot resolve it. Notice if I put my mouse over here, it says it's an unused method. So if I choose that, it's going to go away. I don't want that because then I have to type it in again. All right. So let's type in that method now. And it's probably about, I don't know, 15 lines, something like that. I don't know. Maybe a couple more. No more than 20, I don't think. I'm going to stop right there just for a second to let you catch back up. We've got a total of about 15 more lines to do, period, in the rest of this, and then we're done. So I'm going to go till we finish. Once we've finished, all right, we can take another break. But I'd rather get done with these last 15 or 20 lines, take a break, come back, talk about what's in here, see if we can finish up a chapter or two, all right? Because, again, ideally tomorrow will be lab for the entire period. So if you've fallen behind on here, or if you haven't had a chance yet to do the other part of the assignment, you'll be able to do so. And I'm looking at this, you're all smart people, so realize this, that between the program, the fortune teller program, all right, and this program, you've got all the code. And it's worth 100 points. So I'm looking at it that everybody who's in here ought to be getting the equivalent of 100 out of 100 on a test. So if you had a test where, even if you you did badly on or whatever, this should help pull your grade back up. All right? Okay. Now, let's just quickly take a look at what's in here. This looks a little weird. Okay? That looks a little weird. What that is saying right there is what I want to do is I want to go out right there. That says I want to go out to that edit text thing that's got my bill amount in it. I want to grab the text that's in it. I want to convert it to a string because I'm putting it into a variable that's a string. All right? You end up doing a lot of that. And sometimes it looks a little funky to say get text. If you're doing a get text, why do you have to do a toString? All right? Because even though it looks like they're compatible formats, they're not compatible formats. All right? Then we're creating a brand new variable called bill amount. And we're saying this is an important thing right here. It is possible, remember, we've got it set up right now that when this starts, it says $34.60, correct? Right, when you start running it, but there's nothing to stop you from removing it, so there's nothing in there. Did everybody hear that? Because this is the most important part of the lecture so far. It may not sound important, but it really is. Right here. This says by default, right there, where the mouse is. That says $34.60, right there. But if you remove that, and you try to calculate something, so you try to hit your up button or your down button, you can blow the program up. All right? Because it's trying to work with a value, and there's no value in there. So what we're saying is if by chance there's nothing in there, just set your current bill amount to 0. Because there is no bill. All right? Otherwise, we want to grab whatever was in that amount and parse it into a float. Because there has to be a number in there. Remember, it's a numeric keypad, so there has to be a number in there. All right? Then this is what you think it would be. So again, these two lines right here. I'm just going to go back for a second. I mean, I think you all get this, but I want to make sure. That's literally saying, let's keep it real simple. That's saying that if this was 100%, or our bill was $100, and we said that our tip was 15%, now what we're doing is we're setting the tip 100 times 15% would be $15, and $100 plus $15 is $115. Does that all make sense? I mean, there's not like, I mean, this isn't rocket science, and there's not a boatload of variables in here when you think about it. All right? But we're working with a dumb animal here, so we have to tell it everything. All right? And that's exactly what we're doing here. Now, I didn't finish because, like I said here in the comment, we have to display the other results that are here, and we want them to be formatted. Well, that would be nice, because if we're going to be working with dollars and cents, all right, we would want those dollars and cents to be formatted, okay? So we're going to come in here, we're going to say this, number format, Notice, again, it says, oh, that's not in there. So can I do this? Can I now Alt-Enter? Alt-Enter. Import class. Yep, that's the one I want. That's good. Or I could go back and just, so that should have put something in here. Somewhere, I'm not sure where, but somewhere it added that. The very bottom? All right, there you go. Import java.text.number format. And if, I mean, there are more than one of them. If I did the wrong one, I'm going to find out in just a second. And I want currency. That's wrong. Not get percent instance. That's currency instance. All right. No. There's different ways that we could do this. We've done our own decimal formatter before. Decimal format is actually a type of number format. All right. I mean, we could have even put decimal right here. You know, we could do that. All right. But we're telling it that, again, why is this important? Get currency instance. Because it's going to be smart enough in our case to do dollars. All right. Ideally, at least, the way we write this, it'll be smart enough that if we're in Mexico and they're using pesos or whatever, then it'll be able to figure that out. All right. So. Last line in here. That's it for this routine. We have to write two more routines. One has 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of code, 4 or 5, and the other one has about 10 lines of code. And we're done. So sorry if, if anybody does have to go up and use the facilities or whatever, do it. All right? But I want to put in these last 10 or so lines, take a break, then come back and discuss this. All right? And I think it was Ethan asked a good question before, and that is, there are multiple ways of doing this. This is the way these authors decided to do it. And I'm not going to say it's the best way or it's not the best way. It's not for me to say. All right? But the point is, there are plenty of ways we could do this. We used the decimal formatter before, correct? Where we said we could do something like that here. It would work just fine. But they are using the built-in, for lack of better words, number format types of things. This name right here, just so you know, currency, that's a name we came up with. But it makes sense because we're using get currency instance. This name right here, we made that up. But it makes sense because we're using a percent instance. You don't have to call it that. All right? All right, I'm going to move this up just a bit. There we go. We got to do another override here. Please look up on the screen, please. Remember before I told you we had to do these? That's the only thing we have in here that's wrong. Because we haven't implemented these yet. So we're going to implement these. The first one that we're going to implement, all right, is going to handle it that when we're done we click the done button, which is going to be a check mark on our keyboard. It's going to call calculate and display. The second one that we write, that's going to have a couple more lines of code in it, about 10, that's going to say when we click the plus button, make the percentage go up 1. When we click the minus button, make the percentage go down 1. All right, so that's what we've got left to do. All right, so I'm going to come down here. That's the whole thing. One more routine to write, and then we are finished. Again, in English, this is saying, hey, if I press that check mark, all right, that's on the bottom of our bottom right-hand corner of our keypad, if we press that, call calculate display. The unspecified means basically kind of if something happens, maybe I just hit the keyboard funny or whatever, so some weird thing happened, try to call calculate display anyway. All right. So one more routine here. Oops, that's a plus sign, not a T. All right, let me check. Did our squigglies go away? Where's our class? They're gone. See that? Now, there's still a bunch of warnings here, but the majority of the warnings that are there are because their dictionary doesn't know those words that we're typing in, like percent down button, etc. All right? That is everything. When you are done, I want to show you something, just so you know this. No, the question was, do you want a default? There's only 2 buttons. So you could, but I don't know how that would ever be called because it's only being called if you click the plus button or the minus button. I thought the same thing. I mean, what you could do is you could have put a default in there and just say, hey, if for some reason this gets called even though it shouldn't be, either do the plus or the minus. You could do that. And you could make a case and say, you know, you really probably should. All right? So that's up to you. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. All right? Now, whoops, I do want to mention something to you. If everybody, even if you're typing, if you'd stop for a second, I will tell you that through every version of this software, it's gotten better, Android Studio. All right? With Eclipse, with every version, it's gotten better. My guess is with IntelliJ IDEA, it's the same thing. That said, it is really possible, I want you to hear this, it is really possible that you'll run this, and what'll happen is everything will look fine, it'll start to load up, and it'll show you the picture of your emulator, but nothing will happen. If that happens and you're sitting there for more than 5 minutes, it's not coming up. So if that happens, what you want to do, and for some reason, the recommendation is you do what I'm about to show you twice. This literally takes about 5 seconds. If that happens and it gets stuck, you go build, clean project, build, rebuild project, build, clean project, build, rebuild project. Then you just click run, run app. If that happens. All right, so I'm going to tell it to run right now. I'm going to tell it to run on my phone. Remember that the 10 that's there, the 10 is for the tablet emulator, and the 1 is for the phone. Now, it's giving me a bunch of junk. I've never seen that before, but now it went away. So this is what I'm saying. Sometimes it'll come up here, and it'll show you the time, and then it'll just hang. So I've already had it where I've had to do a build, clean, build, rebuild 3 or 4 times. I don't know why. All right. And if it still isn't working when you do that, then close the package down and start the package up again. You see this thing I'm getting here? This is what you get sometimes. This error installing APK. And it's weird the way that it comes up. Sometimes it'll never come up. Sometimes it'll come up quite a bit. All right? And I'm waiting, and I'm not seeing anything come up yet. I'm going to give it a second or two. And if it doesn't, I'm going to go back and try what I just showed you. Yours might do that. Yours might run right away. If anyone's is not going to work, I hope it's mine, not that it's yours. But nothing has come up, so I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to close my window. And I'm going to try another build, clean project, build, rebuild project, build, clean project, build, rebuild project, and I'm going to try to run it again. It still doesn't run. All right, if it still doesn't run, I'm going to try to close this and open it up again. Okay, now it's up. I don't know why it doesn't have the 3460 in there, but it doesn't. I don't care. So I'm just going to try something real simple. $100. All right? Yeah, and I'm looking here. That's that text view I put in there before. That shouldn't be there. All right? But, and I'm looking. Well, that doesn't look good. And I know it works because the other copy that I played with yesterday with the same code, it all worked. I got to get rid of my text view there. I'm not sure what that problem is. And there it is. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to manually add this. I wanted this to come up. That's the soft keyboard. So I'm going to put in here 100. Now please look. See this? That's your confirm. Basically, it says you're done. So when I click this, everybody see it? Now, and it still isn't working, and I'm not sure why. All right, but that should be working, that these buttons, for some reason, they look funky, but we're going to take a look at it afterward. All right, I know that when I put the code in there before, it worked fine. Could I have typed in something wrong now? Easily. All right. But you do see, whether it's correct, whether it's not correct, all right, you do see a completed app. And every time I click up here, it's bringing up the soft keyboard. The recommendation is that you never use your physical keyboard with this. Always use the soft keyboard, because people who run this on their phone are not going to have a physical keyboard. All right? So again, if I remove the stuff that's here, notice I can do that. Now I can put in whatever they said, $34.60. All right, click there. There it is. And the weird thing is, when I'm doing this, if I click the up button here, it's not going to actually run and register until I bring up the soft keyboard and click confirm. Then it registers. I'm not sure why that is. Something's goofy. I'll try to see if I can figure it out. But hopefully you got yours up. Hopefully you got yours running. I'm going to remove that. I don't want this text view here. All right? But it is 2:47. Let's take a generous break and come back at 5 after 3, and then I want to go over the code where it's listed in the book. All right? So we'll do that in just a few minutes.